Hello, fourth grade, and thank you for joining us here at BCPS-TV. Special shout out to the math office for being amazing, um, and all the great teachers out there doing amazing things, making the best of it. All right, this is Mr. Tang here with Week 6, Lesson 1, Multiply Whole Numbers and Fractions. All right, fourth graders, let's go. Our objective today is that we are going to be multiplying whole numbers by fractions. We're going to do that by using models, repeated addition strategies, and equations. And the purpose is so that we can solve real-world problems. Okay, so now that we set the stage, set our purpose, let's do a little bit of a think about. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions, and wherever you are, I want you to yell at the screen. Okay, what do you know about multiplication? Go. Okay, let's see. Oof, good, some good answers there. Okay, times, skip counting, what? Skip counting, repeated addition, an X. An X? You mean a multiplication sign? Okay. Okay. What strategies? Okay, let's talk about strategies now. What strategies can be used to multiply whole numbers? Repeated addition. Okay. Skip counting. Okay. So a lot about what we know about multiplication maybe are the strategies. Okay, what else do we? All right. Nice. Drawing pictures, models. Did anyone say number line? Okay. Ooh, area model. Ooh, okay. Partial product. You guys are pretty good fourth graders here. All right. It's a lot to think about there. It's a lot of good stuff. Okay, let's keep that energy going. So what does it mean to multiply? So on the left here, we have whole numbers, right? 4 times 3. Okay. We know that 4 times 3 can be represented as 4 groups of 3. Okay. It can also be represented as a repeated addition, 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And as a model, we can see our 4 groups of 3. So the cool thing about multiplication is it doesn't change even when we're dealing with fractions here. So on the right side, let's take a look at what we have here when we have 4 times 1/2. It could be represented as 4 groups of 1/2. The repeated addition can be 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2. And in our model, we have 4 1/2s, 4 halves. Okay. So when we take a look at that, what do we actually have here? So if we know in 4 times 3 in that last example, we have 12, right? We know that we can add up 4 groups of 3 and have 12. So very similar here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at our 4 times 1/2. And I want you to take a look at this bullet point here. This is where we'll start. The model shows us that we have these 4 groups of 1/2 on the left here. But here in this repeated addition, we have 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2 plus 1/2, which is going to give us a total of 4 halves. Most commonly used mistake is going to be adding a numerator and a denominator. But as fourth graders, I know you guys are well past that and understand that the denominator does not change when your denominators are the same, because we're looking at those pieces that make up the whole, and that's 2. So we have 4 pieces where 2 of those pieces make a whole. So 4, let's take a look at the next bullet. 4 1/2 pieces is equal to 4 halves, 4 over 2, which can be also seen as, like we talked about earlier, 4 times 1/2 equals 4 halves. So we're relating the multiplication to the addition. But we do know that in 4 halves, we have 2 halves plus 2 halves. And what do we know about 2 halves? 2 halves makes a whole. So we have 2 halves plus 2 halves equals 2. So, in summary, 4 times 1 half equals 2.
How can you find the product of a fraction multiplied by a whole number? Think about this question during the lesson. Dory lives 1/4 mile from school. If she walks to and from school each day, how far does Dory walk during a school week? Dory lives 1/4 mile from school. How many times a week does Dory walk the 1/4 mile between home and school?
Select your answer.
Okay, so clearly Dory is not social distancing right now, and she is going to school. Let's see how many days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 5 days. But is it only 5 times? Let's try it. Oh, why is it not 5 times? All right.
10 times. You need to find the total distance Dory walks during a school week. What units will you use for your answer? You will use miles. You can use addition or multiplication to solve this problem. Why can you use multiplication to solve the problem? Dory makes 10 trips and all the trips are the same length. You can draw a picture to show the distance Dory walks. How does the picture represent the problem?
All right, let's go ahead and try it. It says each yellow piece represents 1/4 mile. Drag pieces into the diagram to see how far Dory walks when she walks 1/4 10 miles. All right. 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Hey, what's 4/4 also equal to? Yep, 1 whole. 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4. Hey, what's 8/4 also equal to? 2 wholes. All right, so we have 8/4, 9/4, and 10/4.
The diagram shows the 1/4 mile Dory walks 10 times. 10 1/4 miles added together equals 10/4 miles. Write 10/4 as a mixed number. 4 1/4 mile trips equals 1 mile. 10/4 equals 4/4 plus 4/4 plus 2/4. So 10/4 equals 1 plus 1 plus 2/4, or 2 and 2/4. 2 and 2/4 is equivalent to 2 and 1/2. Dory walks 2 and 1/2 miles to and from school each week. You can also draw a number line to show the distance Dory walks. How does the number line represent the problem?
So a number line is another great representation and another great model for you guys to use. If you see the intervals used here, they're all in fourths, but then when you get to 4/4, that's a thicker, longer mark because that shows you that benchmark of 1 whole. So every time you have 4/4, you have 1 whole. So this is a nice, pretty way to be able to see what you're working with as far as having 1 whole, 2 whole, and then 2 extra fourths.
Like the drawing, it shows the 1/4 mile Dory walks 10 times. 10 times 1/4 equals the quantity 10 times 4 over 4, which equals 10/4.
Remember, 1/4 is a unit fraction, so 10 1/4 parts are 10/4.
Write 10/4 as a mixed number. 10/4 equals 2 2/4, or 2 1/2. Dory walks 2 1/2 miles to and from school each week. Now you know how you can find the product of a fraction multiplied by a whole number.
So in addition, this video is going to walk us through a little bit more about what we do when we're not just multiplying by a unit fraction. So up until this point so far today, we've talked a lot about multiplying whole numbers by fractions with a 1 as a numerator. Those are called unit fractions: 1/2, 1/4, 1/5. You have one piece of something. So when we're multiplying a whole number by 1, it's a lot easier for us to be able to understand and establish um, 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 if we're doing 3 times 1/5, right? Then you're just doing 1 plus 1 plus 1. So what happens if that numerator is not a 1? And that's what this is going to help us talk through some of the properties that we know about multiplication to help us out there.
When can you use the product of a fraction and a whole number to solve a problem? Think about this question during the lesson. Stanley makes ice cream sundaes. Today, Stanley made 2 ice cream sundaes. How much ice cream did Stanley use? Find 2 times 3/4. Stanley made 2 sundaes. How much ice cream did he use to make each sundae? He used 3/4 pint in each sundae. You need to find how much ice cream Stanley used. What units will you use for the solution? Use pints for the solution. You can use structure when multiplying a fraction and a whole number. Here is one way to solve the problem. 3/4 is 3 copies of 1/4. How can you write 3 copies of 1/4 using multiplication?
Select your answer.
I don't know about you, but I want ice cream. That ice cream looks delicious. Okay, so for those of you a little bit confused about this, we're not looking at the 2 times the 3/4. We're only looking at the 3/4 right now. What is one way, based off what we just talked about earlier in this lesson, that we can break down 3/4? 3/4 is a product of one of these multiplication problems. So take a look and think to yourself which one best describes 3/4. Well, I know 3 times 4 is 12. That can't be it. 3 times 1/4, that would be 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, 3 groups of 1/4. I like that one. We'll come back to that. 4 times 3 is 12 again. 4 times 1/3 is 4 groups of 1/3. Now, this is probably going to be the most commonly wrong answer out of the 4 because it's so similar with the same numbers. But if we're really thinking through it, 4 groups of 1/3 will give us 4/3. Is that what we have here? No. So we're going to go back and go with 3 times 1/4.
You can write 3 times 1/4. What does the associative property of multiplication allow you to do? It allows you to change the grouping when multiplying numbers together. So, you can write 2 times open parenthesis 3 times 1/4 close parenthesis as open parenthesis 2 times 3 close parenthesis times 1/4. 2 times 3 equals 6. Now multiply the whole number and the numerator. 6 times 1 equals 6. 2 times 3/4 equals 6/4, which is 4/4 plus 2/4, or 1 2/4. Here is another way to solve the problem. Multiply the whole number and the numerator. Why can you multiply the whole number 2 by the numerator 3? There are 2 groups with 3 1/4 in each group. How can you write 2 groups of 3 of something using multiplication? You can write 2 groups of 3 as 2 times 3. So there are 2 times 3 equals 6 1/4 in all. 2 times 3/4 equals 6/4, or 1 2/4. Stanley used 1 2/4 pints of ice cream to make 2 sundaes. Now you know how to use the product of a fraction and a whole number to solve a problem.
Great job!
Well, boys and girls, we did a lot today. I know you had a lot of fun because fractions are the best. I know I had a lot of fun. All right, so with the time that you have left today or the rest of this week, if you're working through your math, you have your reteach to build understanding with the mixed number vocabulary at the top here. Work through this, and then you have your practice pages. Do at least the front of it, and I'm sure your teachers will tell you what it is that you need to turn in here. The back of it is also a lot of fun, more practice, problem solving. And if you have an opportunity, check out that toss and talk. All right, boys and girls, until next time, be good to those at home, your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, your guardians, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts. Hopefully, not all those people are at the same time. Be good to your teachers. And until next time, be safe.